This is Taiwan Talk.
This is Taiwan Talk on ICRT.
Taiwan, like its neighbors China, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia, retains capital punishment. According to stats given to ICRT by the Justice Ministry, 558 people have been executed in Taiwan since 1981. So far this year, 6 convicts have been put to death. The ministry also told ICRT that all executions are now carried out by gunshot. The condemned is given sedatives before being shot to death by a single bullet, to the brain if the inmate had agreed to donate their organs, or to the heart if they have not. The ministry explained that death row inmates are given advance warning that their death warrant has been signed and are given time to write farewell messages. The convict's family, however, is not informed of the execution until after the act. I wanted to check on the progress of Taiwan's self-professed goal of abolishing capital punishment, and the Ministry of Justice was kind enough to grant us this interview. So welcome to Taiwan Talk. I'm Eric Smith, and today I'm with Director Chen Wen-Chi, the Department of International and Cross-Strait Legal Affairs of the Ministry of Justice of the Republic of China.
Hi, how are you?
First of all, I want to thank you so much for being willing to talk about this very controversial subject. Today we're going to be discussing Taiwan's laws regarding the death penalty. The first question I wanted to ask you was about the goal of moving towards the abolition of the death penalty, because I believe President Ma Ying-jeou and several other officials have said that we have a goal to move towards changing this law. Do we have any kind of time frame or any sort of date in mind for this change?
Actually, the government's current policy toward the death penalty is reducing the use of death penalty and the careful use of the death penalty. We hope to gradually achieve the goal of abolishing the death penalty with the public consensus and coming up with reasonable alternatives measures. Despite the abolishment of the death penalty is an international trend, however, the issues involve a variety of factors, including social value, cultural views, and public opinions, and a mature understanding of the rule of law and the consensus and the support from the public. Since this issue involves the wide spectrum of matters, it simply cannot be resolved overnight, and therefore there is no time frame for the resolution on this subject.
Right. So you don't feel that Taiwan society is ready at this point. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it needs time.
At present, Taiwan law, does it allow for life in prison without the possibility of parole? You probably saw the case recently in America of the man called Ariel Castro, who was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus 1,000 years.
Yeah.
That's
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful sentence. You know, he's never going to get out of prison. So why, if Taiwan doesn't have this option, why don't we have this option? And how hard would it be to enact this law?
Yeah, that's true. We don't have such kind of system for life imprisonment without parole. At this moment, the Ministry of Justice is actively deliberating whether this system can be adopted or not as an option other than the death penalty or a life sentence. The purpose is to reduce the amount of death sentence judgment. Because the system of life imprisonment is an alternative solution for death penalty in some countries, such as the United States, as you mentioned.
In some states.
And in some states and United Kingdom,
right.
Sweden,
right.
Bulgaria, and Ukraine.
Right. Almost every developed country in the world, except for America, has already moved to life in prison as the default punishment for murder or even very serious crimes.
Yeah, however, the addition of the system of life imprisonment not only involves the amendment of the laws, but it will also directly impact on the management of the prison facility, prison administration. We should evaluate the personnel of the correction institution, hardware, medical resources, medical equipment, security issues, and other related problems that may arise as a result. all this need further thinking and discussion for the abolishment of the death penalty.
Right.
Yeah.
Got to think about all of that. Is there a draft law sitting in the legislature right now to promulgate the idea of life in prison without the possibility of parole? Is the law already written?
I think there are many researches, but not a draft law or the draft amendment, etc. Like
Not
that.
yet, right.
Not yet.
Tune in for more tomorrow as Director Chen tells me about judicial progress that's been made since the wrongful execution of a soldier in 1997. Reporting for ICRT, I'm Eric Smith.
This is Taiwan Talk.
This is Taiwan Talk on ICRT.
I'm Eric Smith, and thanks for joining me on Taiwan Talk. Today, we're back on the topic of capital punishment as I speak with the Director of the Department of International and Cross-Strait Legal Affairs from the Ministry of Justice, Chen Wen-chi.
Taiwan is possibly one of the only countries in the world that now has confirmed that we executed an innocent person. In the case of the soldier Jiang Guoqing, which was a very tragic incident.
Yeah.
Don't you feel that because of having this experience, that Taiwan should take a pause before continuing with death sentences?
About the Jiang Guoqing's case, we are very regretful for that, for the misjudgment and execution of the innocent person. Therefore, we strive to inspect and improve the system of criminal proceedings for the death penalty cases in order to more meticulous in the proceeding of trial and investigation. The Ministry of Justice recommends the Judicial Yuan to revise the relevant laws and the regulation to require an unanimous decision by all the judges for death penalty cases.
Yes, I think perhaps some international listeners may not know, but Taiwan does not use a jury system.
No.
Taiwan uses a 3-judge panel to make a decision.
Bench trial.
And then it goes to so altogether, a person who is convicted of a crime and sentenced to death, they would go through 3 trials,
Yes.
3 cases, and then a review, and then finally the Supreme Court would make a decision. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, in your view, that level of scrutiny is enough to ensure that we never execute someone wrongfully again?
Yes, if we can be more cautious and pay more attention to the human right and the right in the proceeding, I think that makes sense and helps.
So you do think that the government has learned something from the horrible case unfortunate case of the soldier, Mr. Jiang?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did have a case in Taiwan just the other day that was quite shocking. A man in Tainan murdered a young boy and told the public that he knew that just by murdering one person, he would not face the death penalty. Is this maybe a guy like this is a reason why we need the death penalty? Would you feel that way?
First of all, we do not comment on the individual case, and we respect the Tainan District Prosecutor's Office for the process of appeals that follows. There is no accurate statistic which shows the relationship between the abolition of death penalty and the variation of the public security. But I know most people are generally agree that the death penalty still has a deterrence effect for the criminal offenses.
Right.
Yeah. If the person knows his action may likely to be sentenced to death, will he abstain from his original doing? Well, we are not sure about that.
Hard to say, yes.
This involves many factors, including criminal psychologists.
Yes.
On the other hand, we also cannot say that the regulation or laws have no deterrence effects at all. Actually, according to our report conducted by the Ministry of Justice last year, July, up to 85% of the population believe that abolishment of the death penalty would cause harm to the security of the society.
Yes, I think that it is very much confirmed that the Taiwan public, in every poll that has ever been released, clearly states that they would not support getting rid of the death penalty. However, it leads me to a second question, because, for example, Germany in the 1970s, I believe, West Germany, abolished the death penalty, and the population was at 70-80% against it. Sometimes governments do things that are for the good of the greater society. For example, we don't ask the public whether or not they want to pay taxes. Yeah. We don't ask them if they want speed limits, because you put these laws in place for somebody's good or for society's good.
Yes. But as we learn from the European country, that they tax 30 years or 50 years or more than 100 years to abolish the death penalty. So currently, the majority of people in Taiwan still believe that the death penalty should not be abolished.
Correct.
We know that the abolishment of death penalty involves the cultural views and the value of the society. We have to consider the public opinion about this issue and their acceptance of the other possible alternative measures. Due to the influence of the Chinese culture in mainland China, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, or Singapore, the traditional view of retribution has deeply rooted in people's minds. Therefore, the majority voices is against the abolishment of the death penalty. We believe that if there is consensus and support from the public on this subject, this will reduce unnecessary resistance and conflicts. So now, my ministry, the Ministry of Justice, will continue to have more discussion and communication with the public on this matter through a variety of ways, such as to promote education about life and the respect of human rights. Yeah, people need education.
So basically you're saying that we need to change an entire cultural mentality. So we need evolution, not revolution.
That's
a
true.
Slow movement towards something.
It's at times.
I see.
We need a mature society and the acceptance of the people.
Reporting for ICRT's Taiwan Talk, I'm Eric Smith.